Attend the tale of Maxwell Roth. He sought the footlights like a moth, his sense of timing never off until he opted to collaborate with a hooded reprobate. The blighter and assassin made a deadly double bill. Jokes, 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 make 'em laugh until they choke, fairly slay 'em in the aisles, maidens fair and princes charming. Thrills, 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 dashing feats and bloody spills, and I guarantee you'll never see the ending coming. The curtain rose, the scene was set, they danced a murderous duet, and much deserving blood was let up to the scene wherein they disagreed on who should live and who should bleed, and Maxwell Rothy then received a very bad review. Jokes, 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 and there's daggers and there's cloaks, but behind the scenes the leading players differ on the plot. Laugh, laugh, laugh at the dandy's new red scarf. Now 8 shows a week to Beelzebub is his eternal lot. Jokes, 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 make 'em laugh until they choke, fairly slay 'em in the aisles, maidens fair and princes charming. Thrills, 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 dashing feats and bloody spills, and I guarantee you'll never see the ending coming.
Hi, everybody. Hi. How are you doing? Hold on. No, music already started. Okay, hold on. Hello. Hi. Welcome. Glad to have you. I missed you guys. How was your weekend? How are you guys doing? Wow, wow, wee, wah. How you doing? How you doing? It's me. We missed you. I missed you too. This is one of the few communities where there's no toxic comments. You're right. Let's change that. Here we go, boys. No. You know what? It's time we change that. Let me get your chat on screen. Okay. Voila. Welcome, everybody. We didn't miss you. How dare you? How dare you? You mean in the 2 days you weren't losing your mind? That's weird. I've been obsessed with Liza P. Yeah, dude, it's so good. It's good. I understand some people were like, it's a little quirky, doesn't do everything great. Which I think is fair, but like, I think the difficulty is that every game that tries to enter the Soulsborne genre kind of enters at a penalty. Or I guess you could say From Software games enter at a handicap. Like pretty much everything will start at -1 if it's entering the Soulsborne genre. If it's not coming from Software, which is perhaps fair, but I mean, because they invented the damn genre. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes it prevents really good Soulsborne or Souls-like games from getting the recognition they deserve, you know? How hard is Liza P compared to other Souls games? I think it's easier than Elden Ring by a good amount. I think... Well, no, it's probably about on par with Elden Ring. I think it's easier than Dark Souls 3. I think it's easier, certainly easier than Sekiro, I think. But it's probably about the same as Elden Ring. How are the kids? Kids are good. Kids are rocking and rolling. Lockie had a little, like, when he was about 1, right around the time he turned 1, he got a little bitty mole, like right on his forearm, like right there. And it looked benign. It didn't look like an issue. But over the last like year, as he's turned 2, he started like picking at it, scratching at it, all sorts of things. And so it was just really uncomfortable. We even put him in a like pair of PJs that was a little tighter and more snug. And we came in the next morning and he had chewed off like a hole. He had like bit through it and torn it open because it was bugging him. So we took him to a dermatologist and they looked at it and they were like, it looks benign. I don't think there's anything to be too concerned with, but because it's causing him so much discomfort, we're just gonna like biopsy it, cut it off, and do whatever dermatologists do with that kind of thing. And so we took him to the dermatologist and they removed it. Dude handled it like a champ. He just kind of like bear hugged me with his arms around my neck. And so they were able to just quickly like numb it. Boop. It's off. They wrapped it up. He got to pick the color of gauze that went around it. All told, it took like 30 seconds to do. It was crazy. And now it's gone. They're going to do the little biopsy to make sure that it's nothing scary. They didn't think it was, but we're getting the biopsy done just in case. Because I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I was like, no, it's probably fine. You said it's probably fine, and then it's not fine. So we're getting it biopsied. We'll find out probably this week what's going on with it. But the doctor said she's pretty confident. It's nothing to worry about. It's just that because he's very sensory, it was bugging him, so he's scratching at it. She's like, normally when they scratch at it and it's just like it's uncomfortable, usually that's a sign that it could be something more concerning. But because he's very sensory with other stuff, it could make sense that it's just him being sensory. So yeah, we'll find out. But I think I'm confident everything is okay. Other stuff going on, we have the house. The house is in the works. I mentioned on stream like last week or the week before that we found the sewer line issue. They agreed to fix it, so we're now on the roll with that. They're gonna fix it. They're gonna pay like $28,000 to fix that for us before we close, so that's awesome. So we'll just move into the house with a new sewer line. Thank God we found it before closing. But now that means that we probably are moving like middle of October. new studio and everything. So just so everybody knows, I think for that week that we move, the streams are going to be like moving streams where I'm going to be streaming off of my phone or tablet or whatever. And we're going to hang out while I pack up the studio and then while I unpack it in the new place. And you're going to get to see how the magic happens, from cabling everything to lighting it to setting cameras up to everything. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Yeah, I think this new studio is going to be great. It's about 2 to 3. It's honestly, I haven't done the square footage measurements, but I think it's about 3 times the size of this one. It's like if you took this room and then extended it 2 times. So doubled and then 1 more. So it's much deeper. The studio has a big closet right there, so that's going to be nice. So we'll see. I'm a little worried about the electrical setup because I, of course, don't have all my lights and computers and stuff in there. To get this all working, I even have cables. You can kind of see it. That little thing right there at the baseboard, that is an extension cable because I have some stuff like this little AC unit and then one of the other spread or whatever surge protectors runs all the way around back and then under the door, or actually across the door, then under the door to a plug in the hallway because it's on a separate breaker, because if it's all on the same breaker, it'll trip it. So at this new place, I might need to have like an electrician come in and actually do something official, but it'll be like our house. It's not a rental. This is a rental. That's going to be a place that like we own, which is going to be insane. But, and I owe it all to you guys. Never think I take it for granted. I really don't. This is ridiculous. I get to do, and like, I get to live my dream, like literally something I had dreams about doing one day. And now I get to do that. And I'm able to buy a house for me and my kids and my wife. Like, that's insane. So truly, thank you. You guys are crazy. Zach, that's amazing. There was one I tweeted out. Let's see, where is it? This. Well, so Michael tweeted out and then I retweeted it. Dude, it's amazing. Somebody was like, Rockstar Games subtly hints. Yeah, exactly. I think this is it. Subtly hints at GTA 6 with a picture they posted to celebrate GTA 5's 10th anniversary, featuring a plane heading towards the VI sign, which wasn't in the original.
$4.99. Lies of P launched last night here in Texas. How are you liking it so far?
Oh, I reviewed Lies of P. I think it's freaking amazing. It's great. I am a big fan. How it like holds up long term will be interesting if they do DLC or something, but I would say right now I'm probably also very, very interested. I don't know if I was going to say just as interested. I don't know if I'm that interested, but I'm very, very interested in what a Lies of P2 would bring with a bigger budget and stuff, because I think what they did here was tremendous. This is apparently a hint at GTA 6. Are you guys seeing it? For one, they referenced the original. This isn't the same picture. Like, one is for the main story campaign, the other's for the online. Like, what are you talking about? And then they're like, so if you tilt your head sideways, this looks like a V, and then an I, and then a plane, I guess symbolizing that it's going towards the 6, so they're on the way to GTA 6. Like, what I don't understand about any of this is that they're making it. We know they're making it. We know for a fact it's coming. What, like, why are you exhibiting and expending so much energy on this? Like, what's the point? 1.9 million views, 15,000 likes. Like, what on earth are you talking about? In San Andreas Definitive Edition, a picture of a typical house in Miami, Florida can be found that wasn't in the original. Bro, it's a house. Like, what are you talking about? In Vice City Definitive Edition, a Rockstar-shaped pool has 6 points added to the added on the map instead of 5. Also wasn't in the original game. What's more likely, that they just screwed up the look of the star on the map, or that this is some coded message to draw like a Star of David on on the map instead of a regular 5-pointed star? Like, I just don't understand what the point of all of this is. It's like, okay. And the other one that Michael tweeted out was this. This is something people unironically started passing around too. And on the right side, they took a look at a pair of pants. Just looking at some dude's crotch. And they're seeing a 6 here. Do you guys see it? I'm gonna be real. I'm not seeing it. Like, this is some weird Illuminati. Like, oh, Beyonce put 3 fingers together at the Super Bowl halftime show. Therefore, Elvis never died. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all, but it's just people with pareidolia looking for patterns wherever they can see it. And it's insane. Like, I wonder if these people are serious or if they're actually like undiagnosed schizophrenics. I don't understand it. You're seeing things that are not there. You're staring at a dude's crotch and inferring that a video game is on its way. How weird is that? Like, that's what's happening here. I don't get it. It's so insane. It's so insane. But these people have millions of followers, tens of thousands of active engagements on all of their posts. I just want to know who the hell is doing it. Like, who is so soft-brained that they are buying that? I just honestly don't know. I'm genuinely baffled by it, but man, people are insane when it comes to GTA 6. It was getting to this level of insanity for Starfield as well. Like, hype, yes, hype makes you stupid, but hype also turns you into an insane person. It puts on these goggles where you start to see things that aren't there. And then everybody then wants to preserve their hype. So then they all want to go into their own little communities where they don't have to listen to dissenting opinions. Just look at like the Starfield subreddit or wherever. And they just get in these echo chambers where they all start saying insane stuff like that. And everybody's like, yeah, sounds pretty good to me. Yeah. And if somebody comes in and is like, bro, there's nothing there. You're staring at a pair of sweatpants. Like, I don't know what you're doing. Then they're like, a skeptic, I say. Why don't you have any fun in your life, you skeptic? Like, like it's some sort of dirty word. It's just like, no, I don't know what we're doing. Apophenia. Apophenia is the tendency to preserve a connection or meaningful pattern between unrelated or random things. What did I say? Did I say pareidolia? Am I just making that up? I thought it was pareidolia. Oh my God. Google's doing the thing again where it doesn't like search properly. Pareidolia. Pareidolia is the tendency for perception to impose meaningful interpretation on a nebulous stimulus, usually visual, so that one sees an object pattern or meaning where there is one. So I guess pareidolia is, let's see, apophenia is a general term for interpreting patterns or meaning in meaningless data, whereas pareidolia is visual. Okay. So like looking at cryptic tweets and being like, oh, so he used 6 words in the tweet instead of just like 3 words. So therefore he's referencing GTA 6. That would perhaps be apophilia, but pareidolia would be looking at the sweatpants and then seeing patterns in that. Understandable. Bro, this is how QAnon works. Yeah, it's the same phenomenon. It's the same exact thing where people just start to do it. Or like, do you guys remember that South Park bit where Cartman tries to figure out who's responsible for 9/11? It's exactly that. Hold on. I think this is it. This is gonna get us copyright struck. I don't care.
Show and tell today, I have brought my shocking PowerPoint report on the truth behind the 9/11 attacks.
Puts the glasses on just to take them off at the pertinent moment.
Oh, Christ. told to believe that the fire from the jet fuel melted the steel framing of the towers, which led to their collapse. But did you know jet fuel doesn't burn at high enough temperature to melt steel? We were told the Pentagon was hit by a hijacked plane as well. But now look at this photo of the Pentagon.
Is there a 6 in there that's actually for GTA 6? Is that what we're doing?
The hole is not nearly big enough. And if a plane hit it, where's the rest of the plane? Whoa.
Whoa.
So now, the inevitable question. If terrorists didn't cause 9/11, who did? Remember that there are...
This is what he's about to do is what these GTA 6 accounts are doing, okay? What you're about to witness is the exact same phenomenon.
In fact, 2 towers. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1, 1, 11. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1, 1. And there are 9 members on Silverstein's board of directors. That's 9, 1, 1. 9/11. And take 2 minus 1 plus 9/11, and you get 12. Which leads us all to the mastermind of the 9/11 attack. Kyle.
So it's just like... But this is what people do, is they're just like, I can figure out all this stuff. It's the same thing, like, there was a guy at one of the churches we grew up at. And he did something called numerology and something called Bible code. Now, if you haven't heard of this, basically it's where people try to, I basically do this, but with the Bible. And so he gave like a whole explanation of how this worked. He gave like a presentation at the church. And what they do is like they pull open a sheet and they'll grab like letters and they'll take holy numbers like 7 or 20, and then they tie them together and then skip 26585, base code volcanic destruction. Then they look at certain verses and then they skip words and then they multiply those numbers by other holy numbers. And they basically just screw with it until they can make something resembling, I guess, something that they interpret as a message. But like, you look at this, how does this not look like the ramblings and rantings of a crazy person? Like, that's what this is. This is just sitting down and being like, okay, let's circle this, let's circle that, multiply by that, divided by that. Why? Cause. And just keep going. And then you just end up with pure insanity. Like, the guy was trying to say, this is, like I said, when I was growing up, he was trying to say that this was proof positive at the time that the world was going to end in 2012. Because remember all the craziness with like the Herald camping, world's ending, whatever. Or maybe it was 2011. I think it was 2012. Whatever it was. And of course, we all know how that worked out. So after spending years of his life doing this Bible code numerology stuff, he found that of course didn't happen. The world's still very much not ended. And so then he was like, oh, I got my calculations wrong. Let me redo them real quick. I multiplied it by 7. I should have multiplied it by 33. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Like, yeah, they said about the year 2000. They said it during COVID, that COVID was the end of the world. Like, it always happens. And it's just because it's a natural thing for people to try and find patterns in things. And it's something that we've evolved to have. Like, evolutionarily, it's just something that's like deep within us, that if you were able to see patterns and attacks, like, oh, my monkey friend went down there to river, never came back. Monkey friend must not be alive anymore. Therefore, I should not go down there like my monkey friends. If you saw that pattern, you now have a selection advantage to survive. And so we developed this process of seeking out patterns, and it helped us survive over the countless millennia. And now we apply it to insane stuff like GTA 6, really putting that really putting that ability to good use nowadays. Yeah, these people think correlation and causation is the same thing. What's the name of that website that does it? Correlation versus causation. There's a website that just has a collection of them. Spurious correlations, is this it? Yeah. So like they tie this and they just pull up charts that look identical, but this is why correlation does not equal causation. So U.S. spending on science, space, and technology directly correlates with suicide by hanging, strangulation, and suffocation. So clearly spending more money on science, space, and tech leads to more of those. Or the number of people who drown by falling into a pool directly correlates with films Nicolas Cage appeared in. So typically when he appears in more films, more people die by drowning, by falling in pools. Or per capita cheese consumption, number of people who died by becoming tangled in their bed sheets. So apparently if everybody eats more cheese, more people will die by getting tangled. Or divorce rate in Maine ties to per capita consumption of margarine. If we consume less margarine, then less people will get divorced in Maine, right? No, because correlation does not equal causation. But people don't understand that. They just look at it and they're like, oh, it looks about right to me. Sorry, Logan, you came in at a perfect time. You came in at the perfect time. Anyway, yeah, the GTA 6 stuff is insane. What's also insane, and I guess we can touch on this real quick just before we get distracted further. I remember hearing about this. I didn't realize it was coming up already. But you remember Marvel's Avengers? The game was not too well received, shall we say? Basically, nobody's playing it. It was built as a live service game, and when nobody's playing live service games die. They go from being alive to being dead. And that's what's happened here. Is that Marvel's Avengers is going on sale one last time before being delisted forever. This is probably, it probably has something to do with like the rights or something like that expiring, like they couldn't keep the licensing or something. But at the start of the year, Crystal Dynamics announced that Marvel's Avengers would be delisted following a release that publisher Square Enix called disappointing. I think that's a generous description of it. But they go on to say the live service Spandex 'em Up, which is a great phrase, Spandex 'em Up, was put on live support with a final update in March and a subsequent patch in April. As of September 30th, it won't be available to buy on digital storefronts. But until then, it's on sale on Steam for 90% off. So straight up, you will not be able to buy this game anymore in October onward. Like, you won't be able to buy it online. You just can't. So you can spend $4 on it. So there's that. And you'll have it, I guess in theory perpetually. They aren't going to be updating it or patching it or anything as years go by, of course. But if you technically want it, you can get it for like $4. But it's going away like pretty much forever. You won't be able to buy it. It'll just be gone. Like it's unfortunate because with any game, to be delisted is just unfortunate. It's just kind of lame to see games just not even abandoned, but like abandoned and then stripped from the ability of public consumption. Like that's what's really weird about it. But it's also not a great game. I did an iTried video a while back where we went back and we tried it, and honestly, I just don't think it's a very good game. Like, it just isn't. And then it's built on this live service mess, which is also still weird and just not very fun. And honestly, like, when players sense that a game only exists because it was built to milk the customers dry, they can sense it. They can smell that stink from a mile away. And they don't like it. Shocker, right? And with Avengers, it was clear from the start that this was built by Square Enix to try and capitalize on the superhero craze and milk their customers for all that they were worth. And when a game is built on that premise, above like core gameplay, quality story modes, things like that, it's just never going to do well. It's never going to be a great game, in my opinion, at least. Even like Shadow of War, which has been patched, and I think if you get it on sale or Game Pass, I think it's worth playing now. Shadow of War was built on that loot box system, and it still suffers as a result of it. Like, honestly, the end game is still pretty busted as a result. If you really love the core gameplay mechanics, I think you can have fun with it, especially being a Game Pass title. But like the stuff they did in that also was unbelievable. EA and 2K sports games are so milky. I like referring to them as milky. That's a funny way of putting it. I think I'm gonna start doing that. What do you think GTA 6 will be really predatory in terms of monetization? Yes, it will be very milky. New term unlocked. I love it. Lady blah blah. That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm gonna casually use that in a main channel video. People are gonna be like, what the hell did he just say? Not even realize it. Like, I did one video, maybe it was one of the Mirage ones, where I kind of offhandedly, not realizing it, said Assassin's Creed Valhalla in a reference to the soundbite.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
And somebody in the comments like left, there's probably more than one, but I saw one that was like a chunk. And it was a guy being like, I just don't think I can take Luke's opinions on Assassin's Creed seriously when he doesn't even know how to pronounce Valhalla. He claims he's played the game and he doesn't even know how to say the word. It's like, is this even worth explaining to the poor guy, or do we just kind of let it go? We just move on. But yeah, inside jokes, that's what happens. You know, what are you gonna do? All of this to say, it's a bummer that Marvel's is not, or Marvel's Avengers is not just like being abandoned, but it's straight up being removed and stripped of everything and being exiled. Like, the only way eventually you're going to be able to probably play this game is with like a pirated copy that's modded and adjusted, but I don't think there's even a community to do that. So I think in 5-10 years, this is going to be one of those lost media games, because it'll probably be broken on the RTX 10,040 or whatever we have then, and so you're gonna have to heavily mod it to play it, even if you have it in your Steam account, and even then there's going to be basically no modding community for it. So it's just, I mean, I guess play it now if you want to, because I think in just a few short years it's going to be unplayable and you won't be able to get it anymore. So who knows? I'm sure maybe in like 10 years, people are going to be like, oh, I remember playing that game. Oh, it was so good. People are going to look back on it fondly, because people always look back on things fondly when they can't re-experience them. Like even some games you go back and you play and you have really rose tinted glasses, and then you go back and you try them again. You're like, oh, okay. Like the original Assassin's Creed, that's a game where you go back and you're like, I remember so fondly the world building and the aesthetics and everything. And you go back and you're like, oh my God. Oh, Jesus. It's the same thing with like the original Witcher. People look back on the original Witcher game fondly for whatever reason, but it is, according to CDPR, it's bad. They're like, yeah, we didn't know what we were doing when we put that game together. We really had no idea what we were doing. And yeah, it kind of shows, but what are you gonna do? It's not aged well, no. Especially the combat, the controls and stuff. It's pretty difficult to handle. But speaking of CDPR, also Fumbles, thank you for the 5. I gotta catch up on all those. I'm sorry guys if you've been super chatting and becoming members. I've just been totally distracted. I'll catch up on all these in just a second. Speaking of CDPR, just so everybody's aware, I'm allowed to disclose that I am reviewing Phantom Liberty.
0630 super chatted $5.
Hell yeah, you did. Thank you, my friend. So I'm reviewing the expansion and the DLC, and I'm allowed to share my impressions of the 2.0 patch. Very good. Very good. I can't show you gameplay. I can't show you anything like that until the 20th, but it's impressive. They have not been sitting on their butts. The embargo, I'm also allowed to say the embargo lifts on the 20th. So Wednesday, we'll be able to talk about it at length. And I think, I know, I can check an email real quick. I think I have to wait till the 26th to stream it. No, so the 21st, I'll be able to stream the 2.0 content, and I'll also be able to do that stuff. That's when the embargo for that lifts, because of course 2.0 goes live on the 21st, but I can't show any Phantom Liberty stuff until the review, and then we can't stream or do anything with Phantom Liberty until the 25th. That's my understanding. So. Okay. Just getting that out of the way so we're all on the same page. Because of course I also just got a package I have to run and get. Because like whenever I'm doing one of these things, I can't talk about it, of course, until the appropriate time. So like during Starfield, they give us that like 2 weeks beforehand. And so of course I couldn't, like people would ask, do you think Starfield's exploration is going to be a problem? And I couldn't really talk about it because I knew my answer to that question, but I couldn't just pretend like I hadn't played the game, right? That I didn't know the answer. So it puts you in a weird spot. So I just want to be fully clear that I can't really discuss that too much. However, I am allowed to share impressions of the 2.0 patch, and that I think is pretty impressive so far. Like I'll continue to experiment with it. It's why today's stream is going to be a little bit shorter. No, I did accidentally buy extra blood letters. I miscounted them. I thought I only had 10, so I ordered another 10. Turns out I actually have 20. So now I have 30. First world problems. Because I have my 1,000 Suns, I have Chaos Demons, and then I also have an Eldari army. It's a bit of a problem. We're in trouble. Yeah, Mr. Maddie putting out videos. Yeah, it was, what do they mean YouTube's not receiving enough data to continue streaming? Let me know if you guys run into buffering issues. YouTube's on one. It says that it's not receiving enough. That's weird. I don't know. The stream froze. Is it back? Okay, refresh, you're good. Okay, that's weird because I'm not showing any drop frames or anything, but it says, that's odd. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, Mr. Maddie and a lot of other guys, it wasn't just Maddie, but a lot of people were still putting out videos of like speculation videos about Starfield while they were reviewing it. And I don't know how you do that without it being really, I just don't know how that works, honestly. Like if I got access to a preview event to like play Skull and Bones under NDA, and then I was making videos speculating about Skull and Bones and how it plays and all that, how is that not like a massive conflict of interest? Because I know the answer, I've played the game, but I'm not allowed to tell you I've played the game. So it's just like, it's just messy. It's why I've had to cancel a handful of videos because I've not been able to make them before playing games for review or at preview events and stuff. I do have whatever it's called, I have a skeptical look video for Cyberpunk that I filmed yesterday before I got all the codes and stuff because I got them late. Because I forgot to email everybody. Classic Luke. But yeah, I was able to film that before, thankfully. So we're gonna put a little addendum on it, kind of insert. Just full disclosure, I filmed this before. It's not a conflict of interest, but if I hadn't filmed it before, we just have to cancel it. So, let's see. I buy one EA FIFA game per console generation. I bought the last years because of Ted Lasso Crew, and one of the customizers, the pants don't work, so managers just have Spectrum bottoms. That's funny. You gotta love the polish. Real quick before I forget, once again, let me thank the people who have super chatted. You guys are awesome. I love you dearly. Rango, thank you for the 2. I think next year will suck for games because of GTA 6. I think you're gonna see a lot of stuff that perhaps is initially announced that gets delayed. And I think you're also going to see a lot of stuff that's probably still unrevealed that they're waiting to reveal and put timelines on because they don't want to go head to head with GTA 6. They want to give that like a month and a half to 2 months by itself and then come out. So if they announce, say, GTA 6 in October or for October release in 2024, I think you'll see a lot of like Assassin's Creed Red probably waits until the end of November to launch. I think you'll see if Sony brings out Last of Us Factions or anything like that, I think you'll probably see that launch a good bit after, because just nobody wants to go head to head with that. It's just not worth it, you know? Like, why would you bother? Everybody knows that that's going to be all anybody is talking about. Like, if you thought that the non-stop, incessant rambling about Starfield was bad, just wait. Just buckle up and wait. It will be insane. I cannot put into words enough just how crazy this is going to be. As we've talked about today already, GTA 6 fans are out of their mind. And like a lot of them, at least tens of thousands of them, are like borderline schizo crazy, seeing patterns and things in the air and sky and in sweatpants, telling them secret hidden messages that aren't actually there. So just wait until there's actually real stuff for them to check out and ramble about. It's going to be so toxic. Buckle up. It's going to be funny. Off topic, Doc is streaming Lies of P and says graphics got to be better than this, right? Proceeds to check settings and leaves FSR quality on. Oh, dude. I had, well, during the review process, they did like a little patch and it reset all my graphics settings. And I didn't really notice because, you know, I boot on my computer, it auto updates and does those things. And then I pressed play and all of a sudden I was like, the game looks so much worse. It is grainy, it's blurry, there's ghosting all over the place. What is happening? The textures look terrible. And I pulled open the settings. Sure enough, FSR is on and it's set to quality or balanced. I think it was set to balance automatically. And I turned that off, went back to DLSS, way better, instantaneously. It's just way better. What's ghosting? Do I have a clear example? I was like, oh, should I MS Paint this? But I think maybe this is going to work better. Maybe this. I don't know if this actually shows. It's like a good example. So like ghosting would be when these AI models try to determine and insert frames and stuff. So if you're talking about like how this typically works, if we have like, this is the timeline, let's say this is a second, this represents a second. Cthulhu, thank you for the 2, by the way, appreciate you. Also, I keep forgetting about all this, hold on. Black Knight Zabatsu, thank you also for the 2. My brother, what's up? Not much, my friend. I'm doing good. I'm rocking and rolling. You know how I be. Thank you for the 2. Appreciate you. Mentioned the Lies of P launching in Texas. Yeah, I love it. Fumbles, thank you for the 5. And Cthulhu, thank you for the 2. You guys are tremendous. So if like this is 1 second, let's be fair. Okay, so this is like very small within a second. But let's say you're getting 30 frames a second. So this is 1/30th of a second. So this is a frame, and then this is a frame. Okay, that's when your computer's rendering it or your console or whatever. What a lot of these like FSR things or frame generation, what those will do is that they will take information from previous frames and try to interpolate what the next one is using AI algorithms to figure out how they can kind of efficiently reproduce it or create one. So what they might do is if we break this up even further and say that these are rendered frames, what FSR2 is going to do is it's going to come in here and it's going to try and use information from previous frames to inform what this one should be like. And then the computer only has to render, say, half resolution or 3/4 resolution. And then the rest of this gets done with the FSR upscaling to reach that resolution threshold using information from previous frames. The problem with it, though, is that some of these algorithms are better than others. They are not created equally. And as you can see with this side-by-side test where they test FSR 2.1, XESS, which is the Intel graphics card variation of this, And then DLSS, you can see DLSS has basically no ghosting on it whatsoever. It has accurately figured out where the model is, what is moving, what is static in the frame. The XESS from Intel is better, but you can still see weird ghosting with like his arms, where there's remnants of his arms still hanging back. And that's just because the algorithm doesn't know what should be, what should be and shouldn't be included with the brick pattern. And then FSR, as you can see, is just god awful. There's just like entire arms duplicated that have ghosted. So it looks like a ghost because it's just a blur, a kind of faded version of it. But that's why when I'm like, I can't stand FSR, this is why. The artifacting's crazy. It makes things look just icky. And like DLSS is just frankly better. Some people are saying, oh, FSR 3.0 is going to make it better. I'm sure it will. I would hope so. But as for whether it's competitive with DLSS, I don't know. I don't know at this point. This is just frankly way, way superior currently. So yeah, if you are feeling like things are weird looking and blurry and it just isn't looking right, I encourage you. Oh, and in motion, dude, it's even worse. Hold on. Just watch this in motion, okay? Watch this in motion. This is crazy. Watch the ghosting. Do you see? It's like a weird stop motion something, right? Like, what? Look at all that ghosting. Look how horrible that is. And this is the tech that they have to use in consoles with like Jedi Survivor because it's not NVIDIA chips inside those. And it just looks horrible. And granted, this is like one of the worst case scenario tests for these algorithms. Brick, which has really tight detail patterns with a moving subject as the camera's also moving, it's very, very difficult to pull this off, which is all the more impressive for DLSS, why it handles it like a champ. It just doesn't care. It's just doing great. XESS is significantly better. And then FSR2 is just frankly unusable. It's laughably bad. That's just ridiculous. It's not even close. So, bro is Flash, not Spider-Man. Yeah, it kind of looks like Flash, honestly. Oh, I guess we can talk about that. Yeah, the Spider-Man length or whatever. This I saw some people getting riled up about. So basically, so in case you weren't aware, news about the length and size of Spider-Man 2 came out. This is from Fiji 247. They asked the team making it, Insomniac Games, what they could expect from the game in terms of length and amount of content. And they were told that you should be able to expect about the same as Spider-Man on the PS4. Which honestly is kind of interesting. Let me do this. What would I look for? Maybe time or length? Oh no, time found it. Okay. So Smith doesn't want that feeling. Tout states, welcome. Spider-Man 2 is in the same ballpark as the first game in terms of overall playtime, he explains. And we really thought about how to make each of the moments like the lizard fight you played, a little more epic or a little deeper or a little more story integrated. We don't want this to be an 80 to 100 hour game. That's not where we want to be. We want to tell amazing stories the best we can. We want to make every mission really, really memorable. That's our goal rather than going super, super broad. Honestly, I think that's okay. Like, I think that's okay. I thought Spider-Man on the PS4 struck a good balance. I felt like it didn't overstay its welcome. The only way I felt it overstayed its welcome was when you were trying to do the completionist runs and you were just doing the checklist open world crap to try and get the platinum. I thought that was tedious, to say the very least. But if you're just going through the main story and some of the side stuff that might be there as it pops up, I think it strikes a good balance. And to hear them doing the same thing this time around, I'm okay with. Like, I don't think every game needs to try and be
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
I think it's okay if it's a little more lean. Yeah, trust me, you don't want 100 plus hours like AC Valhalla. Yeah, exactly. I just don't think that's what every game should try to be. And I think what teams like Insomniac and frankly a lot of Sony's big teams, what they excel at is really high quality, big budget blockbuster type games. And those don't tend to rely heavily on like dynamic content or big open world content that offers like 100 plus hours. Even something like God of War Ragnarok has high quality side content, but even that game is not approaching Assassin's Creed Valhalla levels of gameplay time. And I don't think it should. Because in order to approach that level of playtime, you either are in a very special situation like Baldur's Gate 3, where you've been in early access, where you have hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's what you are doing. Like, that is the goal. And it also plays a little slow, too. I mean, traversal's not very fast. You're just slowly exploring the world. So you're either in that situation, or you have to rely on dynamic, procedurally generated content. Even games like Red Dead Redemption 2, which are massive, those cap out at like 80 hours. You could certainly play it for like 200 if you wanted, but in terms of unique things to see, it pretty much ends after the epilogue, and after that it's just kind of meandering and exploring however you want. But by that point in the game, you've seen pretty much everything that they have to offer, and the dynamic events stop triggering, and it just kind of, you know, it sizzles out. So I'm okay with this being a little bit more lean. And frankly, this might just be my personal position as somebody that gets to play a lot of these AAA games. To hear that there's going to be a game that comes along that's really high quality and is like 20, 25 hours, to me, that's refreshing. Like, that's refreshing. That's not a diss. That's not a negative. For me, that's a +1. I like to hear that. Okay, I can play this and it won't take up my entire month. Love it. That's great. So, yeah, I don't see it as a big deal, frankly. But I saw some people trying to use this as like, I saw some console war fanboys that were pointing to this and being like, well, you guys are getting 25 hours of gameplay. I have 150 hours in Starfield and I'm still playing. It's like, okay, dude. Okay. If everything has to be a competition, okay, yeah, let's compare two totally different games. Like, sure, whatever. The city is huge, which is good for me because I like to explore. Yeah, no, they're adding the extra boroughs. They're making traversal much faster. It's gonna be really, really interesting. Persona 5 Royale is the only 100+ hour game I don't yell at for being too long. Yeah, it is like, it takes its time, certainly. And I that's why I totally understand. We made a TikTok where I referenced like playtime density of open world things for Starfield. And I was like, I don't blame people for getting bored with Starfield because interesting points of interest are like 2, 3, 4 minutes apart when you're exploring. And that is, frankly, far longer than most people would consider the standard to be in the industry, which is typically 40 seconds for a quality open world game. Some games like Red Dead Redemption 2 come along and have 80-second, points of interest or 80 seconds between points of interest. But like, while that, like, rules are meant to be broken, people can still get bored with it. Like, it's okay to still get bored. And with Persona 5, that's one case where, like, it really takes its time. And I don't necessarily blame people if they just aren't digging it. I get it. I didn't get it when I first tried to play it. I would encourage them to try to stick with it. But, if people just are not feeling the longer stretches of time between things happening, I don't blame them, frankly. It's not an objective thing where like, oh, you're at 42 seconds instead of 40 seconds, therefore your game is bad. It doesn't work like that. 40 seconds is where I think the mass market has agreed is good. Maybe even for some broader games that spill into the public a little bit more, like Hogwarts Legacy, they targeted like 15 seconds roughly. So like for those games, maybe they try to bring the time down because of attention span concerns, especially with younger audiences. But it doesn't mean the game's good or bad or better or worse or anything. It's just a design decision. But if you stretch it out longer, I don't think you should be blown away when people start to feel bored because there's not much going on. And then if you make it really dense like Hogwarts Legacy, a lot of people felt overwhelmed with the constant stuff that was happening and that there was just so many things. It was kind of overwhelming. And I think that that's also a fair expectation as well. An early rumor I heard for Spider-Man 2 was that it would be set in Japan. So even though the new map looks decent, I can't help but feel a little disappointment that it's only a little bigger. Yeah, I'm hoping that that just means that they've leaned a lot into the production value of like encounters and stuff. We'll see. We'll see. Exactly. Game reviews are subjective. There are some grounds for being fairly objective, like performance and story fallacies, but taste is a big thing people need to figure out to not get triggered over. Exactly. Like, and it also, another thing that people get frustrated by is playing the game the right way. That's something that came up a lot with Starfield, is that people went into it, tried to play it like classic Bethesda games, and didn't have a very good time. And that's just, it's par for the course. I mean, it's just, people are going to play the game the way they play it, and it's the developer's job to guide them into the correct way to play it. And if they fail to guide players that way, I think it's fair for people to express frustrations that it's not hitting them the way that they were hoping it would. You know, if you try to play Starfield like Skyrim, you're going to be bummed. Kaylin, thank you. Appreciate you, my friend. I love the flying pear. That's awesome. Like, I just think with all this, it's really easy to just blindly say like, oh, well, you were playing X game wrong. With Red Dead, you need to really take your time and get immersed and go hunting and stuff. And they try to encourage you to do that by taking you on missions where you do just that. And that strikes the good balance of kind of taking its time and slowly introducing you to the world and all of that. In the same way that, like, if you wanted to speedrun Persona, you're going to have a bad time. And that's why you really can't speedrun Persona. Like, they really force you to play the way that you're meant to play the game. Whereas for something like a Starfield or whatever you might look at, if there's a question of how you should play it, you might not be playing it, or the developers might have done a poor job of setting those bumper rails up for the player to make sure they stay on course. And that was a frustration I had with Fallout 4. I feel like if you play Fallout 4 and you engage with the main story, you're going to have a bad time. Like, if that's where you're trying to get immersed, role play, get really into it, you're going to have a bad time. But if you play just like an open world adventure shooter, ignore the main story, you can have a good time. And a lot of fans are like, yeah, no, exactly. But I'm like, devs still definitely put in like a pretty massive main story campaign. Like, they still did that, you know? Sean, exactly. Kaylin, also, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate you, my friend. I didn't mind Revelio as much as others did. I think they should have just honestly given you like a pin or something you put on your cloak that just passively has it always activated. Do it in the early game. You can sell it after a bit. Maybe give players other possibilities of getting pins or brooches that they can put on their robes that give them damage boosts or something, so they're encouraged to swap it out later in the game. But yeah, I think the constant Revelio, I think that was just not well thought out. And it could have been, I think, improved pretty easily. But I think it's just something they didn't even really think of until the game really started to come together, that like, oh, we have a lot of like really densely packed stuff in the castle, and players are going to want to find the points of interest there. And so they're just going to be running around the castle nonstop going, Revelio. And by that point, it was kind of too late. I think Revelio should have stayed on the screen with one button press and turned off when pressing the button again. Oh, so like a toggle? That could work. It could have just been Revelio, and then he just keeps holding the wand as you explore, kind of like the Lumos, you know, as you just look around. That could work. I can see that. That's a good fix too. Like Witcher senses, I don't know. It's all about casting. Well, yeah, it might also just be a lore restriction where it's like, because Revelio is like a whoosh, it's not like a sustained thing. I don't know. It is true. I'm sure that they could figure out a way to do it, like if they wanted to. I just think they got too deep into development and they were like, well, we can't really fix it now. So Eagle Vision figured out how to make it not annoying. Well, the other thing, and this was the problem if you played the original Batman Arkham games. So Batman Arkham Asylum, one of the big problems the developers described they had was that players just ended up turning on Detective Vision and leaving it on, like permanently, like for 50-60% of the game, because it would help you spot like hidden items. It would help you see things that were interactable. It would help you see enemies, like everything. And so people just leave it on. And the problem with that is that when you leave that on, all of the cool, crazy artwork, the ambiance, the graphics, everything go out the window because it alters how everything looks. It puts it into this Detective Vision. So for Batman Arkham City, they did this whole thing where they reworked it to try and make it less useful so that people wouldn't keep it on all the time. And that's the same exact thing with Eagle Vision in Assassin's Creed. They had the same problem where a lot of people were just activating it and leaving it on. And they're like, we built this whole crazy cool city for you to see and take in and explore, and to just have you stick in like Detective Vision or Eagle Vision or whatever, it's not what we wanted. We want you to take in and get immersed in the world. So they tried to make those things less useful. And maybe that's why they kept Revelio the way they did, is because it was for sake of immersion. And so you get to see Hogwarts the way it's supposed to be. I'm not sure, but is there a real huge difference for buying Hogwarts or for Hogwarts between PS4 and PS5 anyway? I'm trying to budget just a bit, but if the PS5 version is recommended, then I'm all for it. I tried it on PS4 and it definitely is graphically held back a good bit. Does anybody remember, does Hogwarts on PS5, does it have 60 frames? I don't remember. I mean, that alone is probably a reason to do it. Just because I think that's going to matter, especially once you get into combat. I think so. I never got it smooth though. Yeah, I haven't gone back and tried it. Performance mode, yes. Yeah, okay. So yeah, probably PS5 is the safest bet. Dude, I got like eaten up by mosquitoes or something. I'm just like scratching myself like a meth addict. I'm just all over the place. I'm just itchy. That's what I get for going on a walk with my family last night. Oh man. Talk about regrets, right? Oh god. That's just funny. Anyway, yeah, like the stream, otherwise my mods will slap me, so please save me from a good spanking. This is one thing I just want to touch on real quick because we didn't talk about it last week, and I think it's just important to reference. The team Ascendant Studios behind Immortals. Wow, that's a problem right there. But the team behind Ascendant Studios, it was like a new team that was, I think they had a lot of potential, but they put together Immortals of Avium, and they did a pretty good job. I think the game is not amazing, but I think the game is fine at full price. It's tough to justify, sure, but I thought it was pretty good. The writing was like a little cringe at times, and like I said, there were problems and issues, but it just was a fine game. And I think it's really too bad to hear that they have had to lay off 50% of their team. Yeah, don't like hearing it, but bad news. As old as time in this industry, the dirtiest words you should stop saying is, quote, maybe I'll just wait for a sale, or is it on Game Pass? If you can afford it, try it. And some people lit this guy up who's a content creator, ex-IGN person, VP of video, review reporter. Not sure what his current position is, but he got some flack for this because it was like, oh yeah, really rich, telling people to go and just spend money on games that aren't amazing or great, that they might not like. But his point is like, if you want more experimental games like this to come out, then you have to support them. And frankly, like Immortals of Avium is an original IP from a new studio. It's a small upstart team. It's graphically really impressive. It was pretty damn polished too. Was it perfect? No. Was there some cringy stuff? Yes. Like there's a lot of quirks with it, but I think it was a decently solid game, but it just wasn't captivating enough for people to want to go and pay full price for it. And as a result, like people just said, I'll wait for a sale. And I think that that's fair. I think it's fair for people to go like, hey, in an age where we're getting a ton of crazy, like 10 out of 10 games, 9 out of 10 games, I'm just going to hold back my $70 and buy something that I know is really good. And I'll get this at $30 or $35 or whatever. I don't think you can blame people for doing it, especially in the modern day. I understand the argument when people are like, well, if you want these kinds of games, you should pay for them and support them. And I guess if you have cash to burn, vote with your wallet and do that. But it's an unfortunate reality of the industry that with games at $70, the standard, like the expectation is raised. People are not as willing to pay $70 for a 7 out of 10 game when there's 5 9 out of 10 games that they can pay the same price for, you know? So it's just tricky. I mean, if you want 10.0 games, then you have to play the average 6.0 games. Unlike movie or TV shows, you won't necessarily even have to finish them. Of course, yes, you also have to champion the quality underdogs too, big and small. It's not just about exploring average to good, aka too bad it wasn't a 10 games. Yeah, point is, if you love games, then ask yourself, why was Baldur's Gate 3 even considered a risk from such a talented studio? Why is it taking 10 years between Pikmins? How did Cyberpunk 2077 get a sequel and massive improvements, but other studios get shut down? Spoiler, because you bought it anyway, so they had the support and money. That's true. I mean, the reason we're still getting Jedi Survivor games, even though they still are releasing, or I guess Star Wars Jedi Survivor or Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, whatever the sequel is going to be called, even though they launched super broken, especially on PC, they are getting sequels and they make millions and millions of dollars because people still buy them. Whereas for Immortals of Avium, pretty much nobody bought it, as far as I can tell. Which I think surprised a lot of them. It just never got traction. And it's partially because I think it just, in terms of the art style, it happened to blend with something that was happening. Like we got, whatever. Oh God. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Fallen. I did a review on it. All of these games with cuffs. We had Forspoken, Atlas Fallen. That's right. Atlas Fallen. And then this, in the span of like 6 months, we got like 3 games that are just like all about these cuffs that are like semi-sentient. In this case, it's not sentient. It's just kind of a weapon, but it was just weird that they all lined up and then they all kind of have weird, cringy dialogue. There's also one thing with like, with Immortal of Avium that I was thrown off by, and I was like, I think we cut it out of the review because I was like, I don't know if this makes me a bigot, honestly. I don't know if I'm just a boomer here. The whole game, they insist on you calling all of the female members of like the leadership sir instead of ma'am, and I just don't know why. Like, is it one of those things where people are like, oh, everybody's called an actor now, there's no more actor and actress, everybody's an actor because we're all the same? Oh, Atomic Heart's Glove, that's a good example too. Yeah. And like, there were many times where it would just hit my ear and I was like, that just felt weird. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I'm just out of the loop and now it's like they've changed the term and me bringing this up makes me a terrible person or something. I have no idea. But it was just kind of strange. I just honestly don't know. But it was like very in your face. Like at one point he calls her ma'am and she goes, "That's sir to you." Like, how dare you? And I was like, okay. I remember seeing people bring it up during the preview events, and the preview footage that they put out, people are just like, what was that? Yeah, it just didn't make sense. Yeah, Luke gonna get canceled now. So there were just little things. They also had a tone issue where a lot of the characters were like trying really hard to be funny, even though like the world is ending. And I just can't stand that kind of thing where it's like, if you're going to have a serious story that you want me to take seriously, have the characters take it seriously. It's not that complicated. Like, oh, things are very, very problematic here. There's like something to worry about. And they're all like, oh, let's just goof about it. Let's just talk about it a little bit. That's so funny. You know, Disney writing? Yeah, maybe. Wouldn't have played the 5 minutes of Atomic Heart that I did if it wasn't for Game Pass. Yeah, that's true. Crispy Critters. That's the thing in Atomic Heart. Randomly, they just go, Crispy Critters. That's like his... It's like in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where they just nonstop say Malaka as their plosive, as their cuss whenever they're upset. In Atomic Heart, for some reason, it was Crispy Critters, and I tried to find out where that came from. If anybody knows, I guess figure it out. I honestly don't know. Like I was like, is this some like Ukrainian or Russian insult that translated weird or something? I've not been able to find anything, but for some reason, whenever he's like upset, he just goes, Crispy Critters. And it just sounds weird. Like it just sounds weird. I don't know. Yeah, Chase, that I heard as well. And I think when I heard it, it was like a trader from Greece. So I think it was relevant. I think so. But I don't know if they assign that to just like random NPCs or something. I don't know. It's character development. Yeah. Yeah. When I heard it said in AC Mirage, when I played, it was at a bazaar where there were shops and stuff. And there was a trader from Greece that I heard say that. Maybe other NPCs say it too. I don't know. Crispy Critter sounds weird. Yeah. I know it's like part of the plot. They have like some ad hoc justification for it. I personally didn't, because it was like, I don't know if I can go into that, if that's considered a spoiler. I didn't find their explanation of it very satisfying. I thought it was like a fun little cultural Easter egg that they were throwing in there. But no, I think it's just that they chose to write that for some reason. I don't know. One interesting thing, you guys remember last week we mentioned that Phil Spencer refused to say if Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be on Xbox exclusively or if it was also coming to other platforms as well. He was like, well, we just take it on a case-by-case basis. We haven't decided. We're still up in the air, blah, blah, blah. Well, in a slide that was revealed as part of the FTC versus Microsoft case, they showed a collection of games, and one of them happens to be the Elder Scrolls 6. I'll uncover my face here in just a second so you can see what boxes they checked. But you can see like Ghostwire Tokyo, not an existing IP, not a multiplayer game, not a cross-platform game, released on PlayStation, released in March of 22. And then they show Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online, Starfield, not an existing IP, all of this, blah, 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 blah. And then Redfall, multiplayer game, blah, 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 blah. And this was, I guess, put together before they had like traded places. So that's just funny to me. But you see with Elder Scrolls 6, expected 2026 or later. And you see under the released on PlayStation, nothing is checked. Nothing's checked. So maybe he's going to like retcon this, or maybe he's going to change his mind and they will bring it. But let's be honest. I think he just is playing coy about it, not saying anything definitive because he doesn't want to give the impression that he's trying to build super exclusive stuff until the deal closes, because there's just no reason to, frankly. So he's just being coy with it. But I think, again, if you think that they spent $7.5 billion on these games and IPs and stuff to not have it exclusive. I think that's silly. Especially like Starfield has been their biggest game ever on the platform by a lot. As to whether or not it like actually brought in the money they were hoping to bring in, that's still up in the air. Maybe they'll reveal some numbers or something. I don't know. It could be cool if they revealed like the number of new signups to Game Pass, specifically that then immediately play Starfield. That would be interesting to know. Because if they got like 3 million new signups to Game Pass that immediately just played Starfield, that could be a big deal. That could be really interesting. But we just don't know right now. We don't know. Maybe we'll find out, but right now we don't. After Starfield, I couldn't care less about the Elder Scrolls 6. I think when we did the survey, it was a surprising number. It was a full third of the community said that they were less excited about Elder Scrolls 6 after playing Starfield, which, you know, it's not even that they maintained the same level of expectations or hype. It's not even that it increased it. It lowered it. Now, granted, that's in our community here, so that could be different for other communities. I'm sure if you asked Mr. Matty Plays or Juicehead or any of their communities, they probably are at like 95% of them are more excited now than ever. I think we strike a pretty good balance because, granted, I'm biased, but I think that the community we have here is pretty level-headed. We have fans of Starfield. We have people who are okay with it or think it's pretty good, like me. We have people that really don't like it, you know. So I think we're pretty leveled out. But my biggest frustration and my biggest concern is that Starfield already feels significantly behind the technological curve. As I mentioned, I'm reviewing Phantom Liberty, and I can talk about my impressions of the 2.0 update right now. And I mean, again, after playing Starfield, it feels like playing a game that's 10 years old compared to what 2.0 is doing with Cyberpunk. So just technologically, it's hugely behind the curve of what other AAA studios are doing. And wait another like 4 years till we get Elder Scrolls 6. I think it's only going to be more behind the curve. That's what I'm expecting. Starfield, another try. I'm still trying it. Like, what do you think I was playing on my ROG Ally last night and this morning? I'm still playing Starfield. It might be like weird to hear me say I think it's pretty good and it's got a lot of problems, but I'm still playing it. I'm still having a good time. You know? Yeah, Sarim, the comments on the TikTok posts are pretty funny actually. It's funny because we'll post a like a TikTok breaking down the exploration of Starfield or something. And like it'll do well. It'll do like 1 million views on TikTok, which is like, you know, 20,000 YouTube views, you know, when converted. But it'll do pretty well. And you know, it'll get tens of thousands of likes or even hundreds of thousands of likes or something. But then there's always comments with like 2,000 likes where somebody's like, lol, the game's actually really amazing. Wake up, sheeple, or something. And it's because everybody that dislikes the post goes into the comments and then they like the posts that agree with them. But when you compare the engagement on the core post to the comment, it's not even close. You know, it's like night and day. But it's just because like the vocal minority that sees the video that's upset by what's being said because it triggers them, they go into the comments and they re about it. I'm good either way. It's still engagement. So I don't care. They watched the video. They offered their opinion on it. That's cool. I think it's shocking how often it's clear they haven't watched the video that they're commenting on, but what are you going to do? Like, it just is what it is. Like there was one guy who made a post. I think he got it like a couple hundred likes. It was fine. But he was saying something that like, I don't think you've considered that, you know, when you're exploring planets, you have a jetpack and stuff or something like that. And in that clip that we had posted, I referenced that the jetpack doesn't increase your speed. It just moves you up and down. It doesn't increase your horizontal speed at all. It doesn't multiply it. And to be like, bro, you didn't even like watch the video. Like, what are you talking about? But he just he just went in and like, this person disagrees with me. Just freaked out. But it's funny. Like I said, it's all engagement at the end of the day. TikTok is not real life. I know that's surprising to everybody, but TikTok is not that serious. 1 million views on TikTok is like I said, maybe 20,000 on YouTube in terms of like actual meaningful exposure. So it's still good to have, but it's not that serious, you know. It depends, Mighty Kermit, on which, or Kremit, whatever it is. It depends on which jetpack that you have equipped. But I encourage you to test it where you select, like, go to an empty planet, select 2 rocks, like start running or sprinting, pass the first one right here, start the timer, see how long it takes you to pass the second rock right there, and then do the same thing over again, boosting with your jetpack. I think the results may surprise you. I encourage you to test it. Somebody already made the fast jetpack mod. Oh, well, there you go. Time to shut off the stream then. Thanks, guys. I've been corrected. Just, how dare you? How dare you correct me? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh baby. Wow. Okay. Microsoft's former Surface and Windows chief, Panos Panay, is reportedly heading to Amazon. He will replace Dave Limp to lead Amazon Echoes and Alexa Push. Interesting. Man, how much do you think they threw at him? They probably threw him like 100 million in stock options or something. Like they had to throw just huge numbers at him. Wow. Oh, this is it. Ooh, updates as of just like an hour ago to the Unity situation. So if you didn't hear about the Unity situation, Unity is a game engine producer. They're behind many of the games that you know and love, whether they're on mobile or console or PC. Like it's a very common engine. It's up there with Unreal Engine. It's a really common engine for like indie devs to use. And they made a big oopsie poopsie just, I think it was last week, middle to early last week, where they announced a new policy where they would start to charge a 40-cent royalty on all new installs of games using their engine, which means if you have like presumably a game that goes viral or something, and maybe it's like only up or something like that, and it's like $5 to buy. Each time it's installed, you pay 40 cents. The dev has to pay Unity 40 cents. And that included installs on additional devices. So if I installed it on my gaming PC, on my ROG Ally here, and then perhaps I also installed it on a gaming laptop, I'd be charged a total of $1.20 to Unity for that. And then they also, before they started getting blowback, had it so if I uninstalled the games and reinstalled them, they'd get charged again. Now this is already insane. Like this is already insane. Everybody can see how this could lead to serious problems. Already major issues. Because a lot of people download games and never actually play them. Or like imagine if they bought the game on Steam, installed it, played it for 20 minutes, an hour, whatever, and then returned it. Now they're not making any money. In fact, Steam returns. My understanding is that Steam still retains their cut. So they still retain their 30% cut. But then you have to pay back the full amount to the customer. So it might be different. Is it 20 cents? I might be mistaken. It's not 40. Okay, so it's 20 cents. Is this before or after the update? I don't know. Either way, if it's 20 cents, it still, adds up. A lot of indie studios came out and they were like, this leads to some serious issues for our core monetization models. Like we aren't going to be able to turn profits or revenues. There were some guys that were saying that they'd have to unlist their indie games because with the standards set by Unity, they would go from making really good money, like $1 million a year or something from their game to all of a sudden losing $500,000 a year from their game. So makes a huge difference. Well, Jason Schreier just posted this. In a company all-hands meeting this morning, game tech maker Unity addressed the pay-per-install debacle and floated several big changes to the controversial new policy, including a 4% cap on fees and customers' self-reporting installations. In other words, like, still keeping the policy, still charging for installs, but just trying to cap it and swap it out. The problem for them is that they, at this point, have broken the trust. Who on earth is going to now choose to build their game on that platform? Like, who's going to bother when the trust has been broken? Like, look at this. This is what they posted yesterday. They said, "We have heard you. We apologize for the confusion and angst the runtime fee policy we announced Tuesday caused. We are listening, talking to our team members, community, customers, and partners, and we'll be making changes to the policy. We will share an update in a couple of days. Thank you for your honest and critical feedback." It just reminds me of the South Park cable guys. We're sorry. We're sorry. No, that was the BP. I think that was a BP episode where they're making fun of the BP oil spill guys. Yeah, we're sorry. So sorry. So sorry. And Zach Asmongold, as you might know him, he said, "Y'all not going to get off this like some bullshit video game apology with weak-willed gamer nerds. People need to build a future with a design engine, and the trust is already broken. No one's going to build a castle on sand after your bullshit." Which I think is actually a really simple way of putting it. Building a castle on sand is building your game in Unity right now, because you could build the entire game in it, and then in 6 months, they could come along and just tell you, yeah, so your entire pricing model, yeah, it's gone. Yeah, we're taking all that money. Now, the whole point of this whole update has been that Unity has been hemorrhaging money. They lost like $850 million last fiscal year. The year before that, I think it was like 400 million. The year before that was like 150 million. They've just been hemorrhaging money, and it's increasing in velocity at how much they're losing money. They also bought, I think it's called Weta Digital. It's the team out of New Zealand that did like the Lord of the Rings special effects and stuff. Very, very talented team. But they bought them out for a lot of money, and that's also accelerated these losses. So they were like, we have to find a way to make more money. We got to find a way to increase revenues. And this is the policy they came up with. And they're sticking to it. But here's the thing. Even if they went back, they changed their mind on all of this, even if they said, okay, we're not doing it, cancel it, we'll figure out other ways to make money, we're sorry, please forgive us, moving on. It's not going to matter. Because at this point, who on earth is going to build their game in this engine when they've already expressed that they are interested in finding ways to penny pinch you and squeeze more money out of you, and they will update the policies without telling you on a whim? That's horrifying. Granted, this would have gone into effect, I believe, January 1st, but giving people 3 months to come up with a way to save their game from being just totally bankrupted by a new policy is crazy. And because of the way game dev works, you can't just swap engines. You know, it's not like an event venue being like, okay, your conference that's scheduled for next year, we're going to increase the price we're charging for it. And then you just go find another event venue. There is no other option here. Like, your game has been built in Unity. You can't just export to Unreal Engine. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It's not really a shock. You guys are referencing the CEO. Yeah, it's not really a shock because the CEO of Unity, we talked about this last week as well, he is an old school, maybe I should be PC, old school alleged scumbag. Old school alleged scumbag. He has quite the history. Let me see if I can find the tweet with it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. Yes, here from Tom Warren. Unity CEO John Riccielli, maybe, was CEO of EA when FIFA 09 launched with loot boxes. Last year, he said devs making games without monetization in mind are effing idiots. You guys remember that when we talked about that? In an EA stockholder meeting, he even entertained the idea of charging a single dollar to reload an ammo clip in Battlefield. He entertained the idea of charging players money to reload. He seriously entertained that idea. Of course, they didn't end up implementing it because that would be insane. But that's who we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. And they've tried to walk this back already. They've tried to update the policy and try to offer clarification, which to me just seems like trying to retcon the whole thing to avoid more hate. Unity regrouped and now says only the initial install of a game triggers a fee instead of reinstalls. So they try to adjust that policy. Demos mostly won't trigger fees. So something I hadn't even considered is that demos would also trigger this fee under their initial announcement. Now they're saying they mostly won't. I don't know what that means. Devs not on the hook for Game Pass, which was another major concern, was that if somebody made a game in Unity, put it on Game Pass, and then millions of people download it on Game Pass, but don't go and play it, they would have to pay out those fees for all of those millions of downloads. So just across the board, it was terrible. And now they're trying to adjust it. And it's just, again, it's still just so crazy, and they're just sticking to it at this point because there's not much else they can do. Let's see, where was it here? And it just doesn't seem to make any sense at all how this could be effective. And John Riccitiello, I don't know. It's not like he really deserves to have his name pronounced properly at this point. He allegedly even looks like a scumbag. I don't Doesn't this look like the kind of guy that would just take all of your money? Doesn't he just kind of give you that vibe? Allegedly. Allegedly. It's just a vibe I get. Just the vibe I get. And this guy, I mean, if you're wondering, like, how did this guy even get into this position? It's because he's like an old school, big corporate bigwig. Like, he's not a gamer. Again, like, shocker, right? He's not a Phil Spencer type. He worked at Clorox and PepsiCo, climbed the ladder at those corporations until he eventually was named as the managing director of Haagen-Dazs's division of the Grand Metropolitan. So, again, just climbing the corporate ladder little by little by little. And then he was named president and CEO of Wilson Sporting Goods out of nowhere. Somehow he managed that. And then he was also chairman of McGregor Golf. That probably led him to meeting some people. And he became CEO of Sara Lee's Corporation, which apparently is a corporation that owns Hilscher brands. I have no idea what they do. Ran their worldwide unit. And then after that, he joined EA in October of 97. And that's how he got into games. So this guy is not somebody that's like concerned with what's best for gamers or the industry. He's like an old school Pepsi and Clorox businessman who's like, yeah, no, you increase the price of the bottle of bleach by 20 cents a unit and you'll see revenues rise this amount. Easy. We'll charge 20 cents per install and we'll make this much more money. Easy. How anybody thought in that executive team that this would not receive insane amounts of blowback is amazing to me. But apparently they didn't expect it. Some people have said, I think they did see this coming because they have been trying to sell shares. First of all, the CEO of Unity sold 2,000 shares earlier, like a month or two ago. For one, just because I think people are not aware, when you're the CEO of a company the size of Unity, you have to disclose well in advance when you're selling shares. So all of this stuff is scheduled to avoid insider trading concerns. So that was already set in place. It's true that most of the executive leadership team has been offloading shares over the last year, but that again is because the company's just been hemorrhaging money. They've been losing close to $1 billion this past year. They're probably going to be losing over $1 billion this year. They're just losing money hand over fist. So of course the stock price is probably only going down So they're dumping their shares now. And maybe if they can turn it around, they'll be okay. But I don't think any of them are expecting to turn it around quickly. So they're just selling their shares as soon as they can. So none of that's, to me, particularly concerning with insider trading. I think it's just clear that they know the company's not doing well, so they'll sell their shares before it drops further. But what tells me that and 2,000 shares, exactly by time. 2,000 shares for the CEO of the company is not very many shares. It's not very many shares. What was it? Michael Eisner, he owned I think 53 million or something shares of Disney at one point. Like 2,000 shares is nothing. Like that for him was probably selling those shares because he wanted to repair his deck on his house. Like that was probably nothing to him. So none of that really concerns me too much. And the reason I think that they didn't see this coming is because they've been trying to have these emergency all hands on deck meetings in the company. One late last week was canceled and they evacuated the building because apparently there was a quote credible bomb threat from somebody, turned out to have come from a employee of Unity. So their own employee called in a bomb threat to get the meeting canceled. And now they held that meeting apparently today, and they're just talking about how they're going to double up and keep the policy and just find ways to cap the fees, have companies self-report installs, which I don't know how that fixes the problem. People are like, hey, don't charge us for installs. Well, what if we make you tell us how many you got? That doesn't fix the problem. You're still doing it. Like, what are you talking about? It doesn't make any damn sense at all. So I don't think they saw this coming, this blowback coming. I think these guys are so full of themselves. They have their heads so far up their own asses that they honestly thought that they could just charge per install and people would just be like, okay, whatever. And then thankfully all of these game devs are coming out, all the indie devs are coming out and saying like, listen guys, if you do this, we will literally unlist our game January 1st because we just can't afford to pay that cost. It doesn't line up with the actual conversion rates of how much money we'll be making per install. It just doesn't add up at the end of the day. So we're just going to unlist our games. And that's wild. I think wasn't it the Among Us guys? They were saying that they would probably have to unlist their game as well because it's built in Unity as well. Like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Cult of the Lamb, was it Cult of the Lamb? Yeah. Anyway, all of this to say, I don't think they saw this coming. I think they're so full of themselves they thought they could honestly get away with this. And the blowback has been a surprise to them. And it's always baffling to me that you see like massive giga corporations worth billions of dollars do this kind of thing and then get caught with their pants down and just have no idea what to do. It was the same thing kind of like with Cyberpunk 2077 back when it launched, where it felt like a lot of the executives didn't see the negative reception coming. It felt like it was the lower levels that knew where the game was, but like the CEO and the other executives, I'm not sure if they really knew because they didn't really pay that much attention to the quality of things. So I don't know. It's always baffling to me when executives don't see this coming, because if they had asked literally anybody in the community, is this a good idea? Anybody could have told you no. This is going to end terribly. You're going to see every developer running away from your engine. And now, I think after this, their new signups on their developer portals, on their workshops, all of that, I would be shocked if it hasn't plummeted more than like 80% since this. Because why on earth would you choose now to develop your game in Unity? There's no reason. Just go to Unreal, learn another engine, go work with those. And as long, because again, the goodwill has been tarnished. It's been burned. There's nothing they can do now to convince people, as long as this leadership is still in position, there's nothing they can do to convince anybody that they won't just try this again in a different way. It's like, yeah, you might walk this policy back, which doesn't even look like they're going to go that far. Looks like they're keeping it. But even if they walk the policy back 100%, the goodwill's burnt. And there's just no reason to trust them because they're just going to find another way to do it. Spencer, yeah, a lot of those smaller studios, which means they get paid next to nothing for those, and they have to pay for a lot of infrastructure and maintenance. They don't have Fortnite. Yeah. Among Us, Rust, Beat Saber, City Skylines, Outer Wilds, Hearthstone, Crossy Road. Yeah, lots. This is the stock market crash, but for game engines. Devs are people and Unity is the bank. Yeah, well, in Epic Games, to their credit, they've been on the sidelines, like, welcoming everybody in. We don't charge per install. Come on, guys. Come into the fold. Glad to have you. And it's great. It's great. And I think what's really terrifying is for Unity at this point, and I think why they're in full damage control mode, is because they at this point are probably getting calls from some of these bigger studios that make games in Unity, and they're being told, if you don't walk this policy back, we are unlisting our game, and then we're going to spend however much time and money to port it to a new engine, and we're leaving. And I'm sure they've gotten those calls from like every single major studio that uses Unity. Every single one. And so they're like, dude, we should probably walk this back. But even then, I don't think that there's anything they can do. If I were a studio that was in pre-production on a game in Unity, at this point, I'd probably, I know it's more expensive than this. It's not as easy as just saying it, but I would seriously consider and investigate halting production and shifting to Unreal or something. Like, because at this point, it's just, why on earth would you trust Unity? There's no reason. Yeety, I'm good. Yeah, your anguish sustains me. Exactly. Are they just trying to force somebody to buy them out? Well, at this point, you buy them out for the tech and you buy them out for their assets and things. The Unity engine is powerful. Maybe somebody could buy them out and rework it. I don't think Epic would want to mess with it. Because what does Epic get? Like, I don't think Epic gets much of anything from that. You get Weta Workshop. They could offer to buy them out, but they just acquired them like what, last year? So I don't think that they do that. I don't know who would buy them at this point. I don't know who would be interested in buying them up. Because I don't know what the perk would be. Like, yeah, they get the tech and the tech is valuable, but it would have to be, yeah, you'd have to rebrand everything, get rid of the entire executive leadership. And again, like we all say, just clear house, get rid of all the leadership. It's not that easy, like, at all. It's the same reason, like, all of these in the US right now, there's a big strike going on with the auto workers union, whatever it is. I don't remember the acronym, but the union for auto workers in like Michigan and places like that, they've all gone on strike starting, I think, this past Friday at midnight. And some people would just be like, oh, we'll just replace them. Well, guess who, when you replace somebody at a company, you know who trains them and how to do their job? Usually the other people doing the same job. If they're all gone at the same time, how do you train the new people to do the work? Give them a book and say, good luck? Like, what are you going to do? You know, same thing with getting rid of executive leadership. It's easy enough to just say to do that, but it's very difficult to be like, okay, this guy that has been supervising 15 teams that run this company, yeah, just swap him out and then see how well that works. It's not that simple. So it's just tricky. There's rumors Apple wanted to buy, but I don't remember the source for that. Maybe, I mean, we have seen a lot of interest, like from Apple in getting into the gaming industry. Maybe they could, but does anybody know if Unity has like native support on Mac already? I think Unreal does. I don't know. There was probably already a lot of momentum to move to Unreal, so while a lot of companies might not reboot as they upgrade it, others probably retool. Yeah. It does have native support. Okay. Yeah, it's going to go down this year as another example of a company just self-imploding for no reason. I understand, like I said at the top of this, Unity needs to make more money because they're hemorrhaging as it is. Whether that's by downsizing it to cut costs, not acquiring massive like billion-dollar companies, that would help. Or, you know, cutting compensation packages, whatever they have to do. closing a couple of campuses that are really expensive because physical campuses for devs is really expensive. Doing work remote and things like that can help. But they have to like slash expenses and then also bring revenues up. And this was their idea for revenues rising. I don't think that they're slashing expenses currently, but they're probably about to. I would not be shocked if within a couple weeks we find out that they're firing 30% of their employees. I wouldn't be shocked at all. So I don't know how else they raise revenues. They could announce like, hey, over the course of 5 years, we're going to be raising costs, licensing costs by 10% annually or something. It's a lot. You'd still see some blowback, but they're just like, listen, we just frankly are operating at net losses. We need to turn a profit. And so we're trying to do this. Like they could just try that. That would have been better than this. Cause I think they honestly looked at it and they were like, how many installs do we have on our games? Made in our tools? Oh, 200 million or whatever it is. Probably way more than that, honestly. But what if we charged per install? That could just print money. Dude, great idea. Great idea. Let's do that. And that's the whole thing. They didn't think about it any more than that. It just stopped. Oh, man. So anyway, this is going to be interesting to see where it goes. I really have no idea. I really have no idea. Anyway, if we shift forward to this before, oh, wow. That was like a 45-minute rant. Oh, God. Oh, God. What game am I playing in the meantime? Well, the reason I need to hop off here in a minute is because I'm reviewing Phantom Liberty. So I need to keep grinding through that. Why execs are cartoonishly evil. I like never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by way of incompetence. And in this case, the fact that they didn't see the blowback coming, to me, suggests that they're just simply idiots. Like, I don't want to say that this guy's like evil, because that's a hefty accusation, right? Like, that's not an easy thing to say. I don't think you should just throw out evil casually. But the fact that he thought that this was going to turn out well and people weren't going to be upset, that to me suggests that he's just an idiot. And I think that that's a much more reasonable explanation of this, because it just doesn't make sense otherwise. There's no reason to do this. Oh, he's corporate, so evil can be thrown out cash. Okay. I didn't see the memo. I'm sorry. So yeah, I don't know. It's baffling. It really is baffling. Sorry, Kazuma. Sorry. I can't. On the 20th, when the embargo lifts, I can talk about it. How's the family doing? Yeah, no, they're doing really, really good. Mr. Ori is 3 months old. So he's, as of yesterday, 3 months. It's more weeks than that, but if you're counting like months. So he's doing great. He's starting to get his chonk in. You know, babies, when they get really chubby, they get what my family calls rubber band wrists, where they have so much chub that it looks like there's a rubber band wrapped around their wrist, because the fat is just like, it just like wraps them up. So he's starting to get his rubber band wrists, and it's awesome. It's awesome. So he's getting really, really chonky, and Lockie's doing great. He's just getting smarter and smarter every day. And yeah, Nikki's rocking and rolling. We're trying to get ready for this move. It's just crazy. Lots happening. Everybody's good. Yeah, they look like a little Michelin man. Yeah, exactly. For real. Let's do this real quick. Let's talk about this just so I can get through these so we have stream clips to put up. So Activision was actually briefed on the Nintendo Switch last year. And this was interesting. So they described some of their impressions. This is off of some of the emails and stuff that came through the FTC case against Microsoft as part of the Activision acquisition. What's been really interesting about the acquisition is we've gotten to see so many like behind the scenes emails and stuff that you would never see otherwise. And I just love it. It's awesome. So, Activision executives, including CEO Bobby Kotick, met with Nintendo executives in December of 22 to discuss the next generation Switch. In an internal email chain, sorry, my nose is super itchy. Chris Schnackenberg, which is, I think that takes the award for the best last name of the day. Schnackenberg. That's amazing. I love that. Head of Activision's platform strategy and partner relations prepared a summary of the Switch NG, or Switch Next Generation, inside a document labeled Next Gen Switch Draft.pdf. So this affirms what we are, like what we've been speculating about, which is that the Switch, whatever is coming next is in fact another Switch. It's not going to be like a different console or a Wii U situation. They're actually doing another like Switch 2.0 basically. The document is heavily redacted, but it does reveal that the performance of the next gen Switch will be close to that of the PS4 and Xbox One. Given the close alignment of Gen 8 platforms in terms of performance in our previous offerings on PS4 and Xbox One, it is reasonable to assume we could make something compelling for the NG Switch as well. It would be helpful to secure early access to development hardware prototypes and prove that out nice and early. Interesting. So they go on to ask, so the FTC asked Kotick, so even without Microsoft buying Activision, it's likely that Activision would on its own make Call of Duty available for Nintendo's future console, right? Kotick said, we would consider it once we had the specs, but we don't have them at present. We missed out on the opportunity for this past generation of Switch, but we'd have to wait until the specifications. We don't have any present plans to do so. It's likely that Activision on its own would make a Call of Duty game for Nintendo's future console, right? And Kotick said, I think once we get detailed specifications, we missed out on this generation. Is it just a same question? Okay, whatever. So they've apparently been talking to people since last year, meeting with them, pitching the console to them, saying performance will be about the PS4 to the Xbox One in terms of performance. With DLSS being rumored to be on the console, it seems that this is actually going to be able to probably upscale to 4K when docked, which is awesome. So it's going to be really, really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how the cookie crumbles here. There were some rumors, people were saying, oh, it's actually like a PS5. It has handheld, but no, it's going to upscale with DLSS, but you're talking again about a PS4 to Xbox One performance, kind of like how the original Switch had 360 to PS3 performance and could run those games comfortably. And then it could also run PS4 games, sort of like The Witcher 3 on that is like barely running, but still. But do you know that slippery nipple is a drink in the UK? I'm 36 years old and I've only just found this out. Seems like I missed out. Yes, I have heard of that drink, or a shot. The thing I'm aware of is a shot. I don't remember what kind it is. I'm not just gonna Google slippery nipple. I'm gonna Google slippery nipple shot. Apparently it is half an ounce of Bailey's Irish cream and half an ounce of Sambuca. Interesting. That's what it looks like. That's scary. That's funny. What a name. What a name. Love it. Did you know? Oh, I just read that one. Anyway, Whippy Ice, thank you for 8 months as well. Jeez. What else? Will there be an ultimate critique for Baldur's Gate 3? I want there to be. Yeah, I'm just trying to take one battle at a time. We just have a lot of projects to work on. I would guess most of these big projects probably come in like December to January, I'm assuming. If you take them at the end of the night, you might actually throw up, dude, for real. What days do I stream? We stream for sure Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then we occasionally throw in a Tuesday or a Thursday members only stream. Or if there's like cool events going on, we'll stream those as well. Which game do you think takes Game of the Year? Baldur's Gate 3. I'd put a good chunk of change on that. Actually, are there betting odds on it? I don't actually know. Game of the Year betting odds. No, this is from like a couple years ago. I just want to know what the odds are. No, it's all like NFL stuff. Nope, this is from like years ago. I don't think there are betting odds for it. Yeah, I don't see anything. Weird. Did you see DraftKings did a 9/11 parlay? I don't know what that means. What is that? What is it? I don't know. Leo, my experience with AC Mirage is it's nothing like Odyssey. I mean, really. Odyssey is an open world adventure game, and Mirage is like an old school Assassin's Creed game. So not even close. Yeah. I think Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the only other like real competitor for Game of the Year as far as I can tell. I don't know why a game like both Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3 are universally acclaimed. Everybody that plays them says they're amazing. So I don't know how you then give Game of the Year to something where there's conflicted reactions. You know, like even Hogwarts Legacy. Some people are like, Hogwarts Legacy should take it. It was the biggest Game of the Year in terms of like players and popular discussion and all that. And that might be true. Baldur's Gate 3 was also huge, but it might be true. But again, like it's like a game in the 80s versus a game that is universally acclaimed and is at like 97 on Metacritic. I know some people are like Spider-Man 2 might take it. And I think Spider-Man 2 will certainly review very well, I would assume, because Insomniac is very, very good. But we don't know yet. So I don't think it's fair to just be like Spider-Man 2 will take it. As of right now, with what's released, I think Baldur's Gate 3. We'll see when we've played Spider-Man if that changes, but we literally have not played it yet. Who knows? Like there could be an entire section of Spider-Man 2 where the game like shifts, and the reason that the game is shorter is because half of the missions are pizza delivery missions with the same just playing on a loop. Actually, that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. That would probably lock it in for Game of the Year, probably, right? I would probably do it. But I don't know how you could. Well, I don't think we should say that something's Game of the Year when it hasn't even released yet. You know, when it has released, let's talk about it. And I think Spider-Man 2 will review very well. But I think let's hold off. The odds are that, like, what was Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man Metacritic? What did the original review at? Come on. Come on. It reviewed at an 87. Which honestly, I was kind of expecting it to be higher. Honestly. I think it probably got dinged because it started to get, these are user scores. I want to see the critic ones. A lot of people gave it like, you know, very, very good scores. But I would guess a lot of places started to ding it for like a lackluster open world. Because once you finish the story, there's not much to do other than like the checklist stuff. Apparently they've fixed a lot of that, they're saying, in the new one. So it might be different. But yeah, if the majority of reviews are coming in at like 9 out of 10, typically it'll get pulled down into the 80s. It's usually common that like wherever the median score is, the most common score, it's going to end up like 3 to 5 points below that because there's going to be a lot of trailing ones. So like Starfield is a great example. Starfield average review is maybe 9 out of 10, and then it got pulled all the way down to like 85, which is where it's at now. So is RE4 remake qualify for Game of the Year? I think anybody can put it in contention. I just think personally, I feel weird about giving remakes Game of the Year. It's just something I totally bought or totally subjective. You don't have to feel this way. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it. I just personally would rather give Game of the Year to something original than remakes. You know, that's just where I'm at personally, but feel free to disagree. Feels like double dipping a little bit, and I just think you should reward new creations with Game of the Year rather than a sort of derivative work, if that makes sense. Some of the negative reviews for Starfield are absolutely stupid. Oh yeah, the reviews don't really matter that much. Usually they give you a good idea of the broad consensus on a game's quality, and with Starfield, I think landing at like mid to high 80s is fair. It's pretty good. It's not amazing, I don't think, but it's pretty good. And I think that's totally fine. And that's where a lot of Bethesda's games land, is in that realm. And I think that's okay. You can have a great time with a pretty good game. You really can. Starfield for Game of the Year, maybe it gets nominated. I don't think it wins it. Because again, the reaction to Starfield has been generally positive. Not overwhelmingly, not like conclusively everybody is raving about it. Whereas Baldur's Gate and Tears of the Kingdom, maybe Spider-Man, we'll see. But those two games clearly are universally acclaimed. And so I just don't know how you give a mixed reception game or a generally positive Game of the Year over something like two games that everybody agrees are amazing. Is a video on Cyberpunk 2077 2.0 coming? Yes. Yes, indeed. Indeed. There should be a best remake category. Yeah, I think that's fair, especially with how many we've been getting. And yeah, the point of reviews is to find somebody with a general play style similar to yours that likes the same kind of games that you like, and then to take them on their opinion of it. Like, it's why looking at the broad consensus can give you a good idea of across the average swath of players what might my perception be. But the obsession with review scores is kind of stupid. Like, it really doesn't matter that much. Did I already play Cyberpunk 2.0 and the expansion? I am playing them. I'm allowed to say that the 2.0 update is very impressive. I'm not allowed to go into detail with it, and I can't talk about Phantom Liberty at all. But the review embargoes for those lifts on Wednesday, on the 20th. So there'll be lots to talk about then. And then on the 21st, we'll have like an I Tried where we dig into it a little bit more, and then all of that. So anyway, guys, I'm going to call it there because I have to get back to playing Phantom Liberty. So let's call it there. I've had a wonderful time with you guys. You all are amazing. Thank you to everybody who super chatted, became members. You all are amazing. And I love you dearly. I love you dearly. AC Mirage review coming eventually. They haven't sent out review codes or anything. Probably won't for another couple weeks. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But until next time, guys, I love you dearly. We'll see you Wednesday. We're going to be talking all about Phantom Liberty on Wednesday. So buckle up, buckaroo. It's going to be a great time. Much love. I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.